Good morning from Minneapolis. I mentioned a few days ago after I landed here at MSP, which is Flightbeam's latest scenery release, I wanted to do a departure from the airport, so that's what I intend to do. Using Delta's 900 ER. And I'm kind of doing a little virtual walk around here. The temperature this morning in Minneapolis is -5 Celsius. A lot of the country had its first major cold front, as we are in the middle of the fall season. One of the things I noticed about flight sim, and you probably have noticed it too, whenever the temperature is below freezing anywhere in the world, there's automatically snow on the ground. Unrealistic, of course, but as we get into December, January, February, snow on the ground is going to be very, very common here in the upper United States. And if anybody knows of a workaround to make sure there is more accurate weather data, let me know, but I really doubt there is. I think it's just by default Asobo has it that any time the temperature falls under 32 Fahrenheit or 0 Celsius, there's automatically snow on the ground. Okay, I'm gonna zoom out here, pretend we did our walk around already. And there is the snow I was talking about. So everything is coated with snow, even though I don't think there's a lot of snow on the ground right now. I don't think they've even had their first snowfall of the season yet. I know Colorado has because of the higher elevations, but I don't know if the Midwest has had its first snow. So this is the Delta terminal that I had mentioned on my first MSP video. I was flying Sun Country, which parks on that side of the airport. You can see the tails, the Southwest and Sun Country tails at the Hubert H. Humphrey terminal. But this facility on this eastern part of the airport is mostly used by Delta, and then some of the other mainline carriers for the US like American, United. And that Southwest bird should be parked at the Hubert Humphrey terminal as well. My destination today is another brand new scenery that I want to check out, which is Winnipeg, to the northwest of us, fairly close to us. So we're gonna hop back on the captain's seat here and get our flight plan started. And when I say started, let's get our flow started, because I already have most of the flight plan information ready. So we're going to go to the FMC and request the flight plan. And there is Minneapolis, Winnipeg. Select. And before starting the computer, I simulated my dispatch by going to SimBrief and getting all the flight plan data. So all I have to do is request it from SimBrief, and there it is. So we're flying on Delta Airlines flight 739er, going to Winnipeg, Charlie Yankee Whiskey Golf. We can get our departure data here, and also our arrival data, as well as the alternate. And operational flight plan information is here. So this is my third time with the tablet since PMDG released it, and I already sent some feedback. One of the things I want to be able to project on the tablet is my checklists. That would make life a lot easier. I currently use my iPad for my checklists from the 737 QRH. From what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, there are some actual copyright reasons in tablet development with respect to being able to pull up PDF files. That's what I understand, but I could be wrong, because I was able to pull up PDF files with the tablet in the P3D version of the 737. So hopefully they'll figure that out. It will definitely be a nice to have item on the tablet, and another promising more features for the tablet. And as I mentioned during my first couple of tablet flights, I am very happy to finally have the ability to calculate accurate takeoff and landing performance data. Not only accurate, but also optimized performance data. Okay, so let's request the flight plan here, which we already did. And let's see what they recommend here, or what the flight plan has us doing. We are going to be departing runway 30 left. According to SimBrief, I'm also going to make sure this matches what we have here in Minneapolis. Yet winds 350 at 20, gusting to 32. So it'll be a very nice headwind with a little bit of a crosswind as we depart. So 30 left. I don't think there's the ability to push this data straight to the FMC. I know in the real world you can push it to the FMC on the 787. And again, anybody can correct me if I'm mistaken, but I don't think there's any way to push tablet data to a 737 NG FMC system. But if we're able to pull up SimBrief data directly from the FMC, I guess a nice feature to have would be the ability to push it from here in the tablet over to the FMC. So there is, you know, I guess you avoid a little bit of duplication of effort if you take all of that into account. Our block fuel is 13,476 pounds. So we're gonna go ahead and enter that. And then our payload, our gross weight right now is 162.8, and the predicted gross weight for takeoff here is 153,213. So I'm about 10,000 pounds too heavy. So I'm gonna just adjust my payload to get us down to 153. Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna leave it at that. Okay. So 82% payload. And like I said, we're departing out of 30 left. We already have the runway taken into account, and we're gonna look at our departures here. We have a direct departure, so we're not going to be using any standard instrument departure. So there should be, if there's nothing labeled MSP here, we're just going to go direct. Okay, we're going to go direct and set up our arrival for Winnipeg. We'll do the ILS using star November Oscar Romeo Alpha Kilo 4, and there it is. And let's see what kind of transitions it wants. So Bravo India Papa Kilo uniform, and now we'll just check the continuity here. It's also a pretty quick flight. I did that on purpose because I mentioned in a lot of my videos we all have day jobs, so just trying to enjoy an hour or so with the simulator. We all have day jobs. A lot of us have kids, pets, you know, things that keep us busy. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and execute and request our data here, performance data. In the meantime, I'll switch over to our performance data on the EFB side. We're gonna import the data I've put on the aircraft, but let me finish it here. We're gonna load it and execute. So we got our flight plan data from the OFP. We gotta make sure we specify the runway, which is 30 left. Right now it's dry. We're gonna import this data from the aircraft. Import the current weather in Minneapolis. Altimeter is 3023 right now, so we'll get that adjusted here also. 3023. There we go. Okay, and the OFP, I'm gonna just look at the average wind on the OFP here real quick. Back to the OFP. Average wind 349,054. And let's look at this warning real quick. Which one is NORAC? Not 250. Okay, so this is 11,000 feet. Okay, that should be no issue at all. Recommended cruise is 360, and I think that's what I had from OFP. Yeah, I got 340 here. Let me see. Okay, so I'm gonna switch it to 360. And switch to 360 here as well. I intend to do a continuous climb to our cruise. Even if in the real world we still haven't reached that coveted goal of having continuous climb and continuous descent to optimize fuel usage. I don't know how it happens outside the US, but our Federal Aviation Administration has been lobbying for continuous climb and continuous descent for a very long time. And that requires modernizing the ATC system itself, which is also appears to be a huge bureaucratic hurdle. But in the day and age when fuel is so precious for airlines, just saving money, that would be a very nice feature to have. Okay, so I'll clear the warning here. I want to go back to our initial and go back to performance here. And once we have all the data here, the FMC should be able to provide the same kind of data. And our current outside temperature, let me see. If I import the weather, can I get the outside temperature? I guess not. Okay. So the outside temperature is -1. It's getting warmer because when I started the sim, it was -5. And here are our optimized takeoff performance data. Assumed temperature of 55. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but right now there is no way I can push this to the FMC as you can on the 787. And I would assume it will be a future option for the tablet. But again, in real life, I think that the 737 doesn't have the ability to absorb the tablet's data, regardless of the model of flight tablet, to be able to send it straight to the FMC. But I'm just going to make sure the data matches. So we have a 55 assumed temperature, a TO rating, and flaps 5. So we're going to go here for takeoff. Let's see how closely the figures match up. 147, 149, 153. 149, 149, 153. Okay. I'm going to take the 147 just to get that V1 before the rotate, even if it's only by 2 knots. I don't anticipate a boarding takeoff or anything like that, but just want to have a little bit of space between the two readings. And did the center of gravity match? Yeah, center of gravity match. So again, this is pretty good performance data. I really, as I mentioned in my previous videos, this is something I've really been waiting for, having this disability. So I'm glad it's finally here. I think a lot of the other abilities to make the simulator better are strictly on the cord of on the side of the cord of a Sobo, such as the weather radar, for example. You know, PMDG also implemented the Rainmaker effects on the windshield. So right now, that's during the P3D days, even the FSX days. But right now, a Sobo has no way of, for example, having the windshield wiper remove water from the window, or allowing the effect of bugs and other debris splattering on the window. So in some ways, MSFS 2020 is a little bit behind P3D, but a lot of that is up to Asobo. It is nothing to do with PMDG. So hopefully Asobo catches up. I know they push service updates occasionally, so hopefully we'll get there, especially with the weather radar. I mean, that is something that's really missing. I know when you use SimBrief, not SimBrief, when you use Navigraph, you can overlay weather on the maps, areas of intense precipitation, but it is not allowed to be done from the sim. So if you go to Navigraph outside of the simulator, you can see all the weather information, all the precipitation color data. So that would be a nice placeholder while we wait for a real functioning weather radar, or for an accurately functioning weather radar. Okay, I'm going to also get our wind data. Let's go ahead and request that. And Winnipeg is 355 nautical miles from here. So yeah, it's going to be an hour or so flight. And I'm thinking in the real world, Delta either uses an A319 or one of the regional Embraers or CRJs to get to Winnipeg. I don't picture it being a route large enough to require a 7379. But since I only fly PMDG, we're gonna do this. Okay, we should be pretty much set to go. I'm going to switch to APU generators here. And I also want to get our initial headings as well. So we're going to go 339. And I'll arm these modes in the meantime. And I'll also need to figure out what our... Not figure out, but just copy over my V2 to put on the MCP. And the V2 is 153, okay. Alright, so now we'll go over the checklists for our departure. And as I mentioned, I really want to see the checklist, the QRH or the checklist here on the tablet, because right now I am reaching for my iPad, which is a few feet away from me. So I'm gonna lock the track IR for a second here and look for my iPad. It's here on the floor. It was charging. Okay, in my iPad I have my QRH, which includes all the checklists. So 1 second. Okay, so we got the iPad opened up with the checklists. So we'll do pre-flight checklist. Oxygen tested 100%. Navigation, transfer, and display switches normal auto. Window heat is on. Pressurization mode selector is auto. And while I'm looking at the pressurization mode selector, just let me check wind apex altitude. .834. Flight instruments, heading 339er, altimeter 30.23. Parking brake is set. Start levers are cut off. Pre-flight checklist complete. Before start, flight deck door closed and locked. Fuel pumps are on. Passenger signs. On. Windows are locked. MCP has V2 at 153, heading 339er. Altitude flight level 360. Takeoff speeds have been entered. CDU pre-flight completed. Rudder aileron trim free and 0. Taxi and takeoff briefing completed, and the anti-collision light on. Before start complete.
Minneapolis ground, United 725. No pushback tug is available to answer your request. Minneapolis ground, Delta 1139er requesting pushback. Delta 1139er pushback request accepted. Minneapolis ground, Delta 1826 requesting pushback. Delta 1826 pushback request accepted. Minneapolis ground, Delta 723 requesting pushback. Delta 723 pushback request accepted. Minneapolis ground, American Tree 553 with Oscar ready to taxi IFR. American Tree 553 taxi to and hold short of runway Tree 5 using taxiway Delta cross runway 12 right Delta Sierra Delta Kilo Kilo 1. Contact tower on 123.905 when ready.
To our left.
Minneapolis ground, United 725 with Oscar ready to taxi IFR. United 725 taxi to and hold short of runway Tree 5 via taxiway Lima 6 Lima Lima Tree cross runway Tree 5 Kilo 3 Kilo Kilo 1. Contact tower on 123.905 when ready. Minneapolis ground, United 1107 requesting pushback. United 1107 pushback request accepted. Minneapolis ground, Delta 2145 requesting pushback. Delta 2145 pushback request accepted. Minneapolis ground, Delta 2521 requesting pushback. Delta 2521 pushback request accepted. Minneapolis ground, Delta 1826 with Oscar ready to taxi IFR. Delta 1826 taxi to and hold short of runway Tree 5 using taxiway Quebec Delta cross runway 12 right Delta Sierra Delta Kilo Kilo 1. Contact tower on 123.905 when ready. Taxiing hold short runway Tree 5 using taxiway Delta cross runway 12 right Delta Sierra Delta Kilo Kilo 1 American Tree 553. Taxi to and hold short runway Tree 5 using taxiway Lima 6 Lima Lima Tree cross runway Tree 5 Kilo 3 Kilo Kilo 1 United 725. Minneapolis ground, Delta 1139er with Oscar ready to taxi IFR. Delta 1139er taxi to and hold short of runway Tree 5 using taxiway Bravo Alpha Alpha 7 cross runway Tree 0 left Whiskey 7 Whiskey Delta Sierra Delta Kilo Kilo 1. Contact tower on 123.905 when ready. Minneapolis ground, Delta 723 with Oscar ready to taxi IFR. 123.905 when ready. Taxiing, hold short runway 35 via taxiway Bravo Alpha Alpha 7 cross runway 30 left Whiskey 7 Whiskey Delta Sierra Delta Kilo Kilo 1 Delta 1139er. Minneapolis ground Delta 1465 requesting pushback. Minneapolis ground Delta 1465 no pushback tug is available to answer your request. Minneapolis ground Delta 2775 requesting pushback. Minneapolis ground Delta 2775 no pushback tug is available to answer
Before
your request.
taxi. Generators on.
Taxi to and hold short runway 35 via taxiway Quebec Delta cross runway
Propede
12
on.
Delta Sierra Delta Kilo Kilo 1 Delta 1826.
Anti-ice off. I might look at the anti-ice again since there are some clouds and it's still below freezing. Isolation valve auto. Engine start switches continuous. Recall checked. Auto brake RTO. Engine start levers idle detent. Flight controls.
Minneapolis ground Delta 2145 with Oscar ready to taxi IFR.
Check.
Delta 2145 taxi to and hold short of runway.
Ground equipment is clear.
Quebec Delta cross runway 12 right.
Before
Delta
taxi
Sierra Delta
checklist
Kilo
complete.
Kilo 1. Contact tower on 123.905 when ready. Taxi to and hold short runway 35 via taxiway Sierra cross runway for Sierra Kilo Kilo 1 Delta 2521.
I'm gonna go ahead and just do an anti-ice calculation here.
With Oscar ready to taxi IFR.
Okay, it doesn't change the numbers at all.
Delta 1465 taxi to and hold
I'm gonna
short
turn off the
runway
anti-ice
35
once we clear the cloud deck.
Lima Lima tree cross runway 35 Kilo 3 Kilo Kilo 1. Contact tower on 123.905 when ready.
And before takeoff checklist, flaps are set to 5 and the trim is set to 4.37 units. Before takeoff checklist complete.
Runway 35 using taxiway Delta cross runway 12 right Delta Sierra Delta Kilo Kilo 1. Contact tower on 123.905 when ready. Taxiing hold short runway 35 using taxiway Lima 5 Lima Lima tree cross runway 35 Kilo 3 Kilo Kilo 1 Delta 1465. Minneapolis ground Delta 2775 with Oscar ready to taxi IFR. Delta 2775 taxi to and hold short of runway 35 using taxiway Lima 6 Lima Lima tree cross runway 35 Kilo 3 Kilo Kilo 1. Contact tower on 123.905 when ready. Minneapolis ground Delta 1960 requesting pushback. Delta 1960 pushback request accepted. Taxiing hold short runway 35 via taxiway Quebec Delta cross runway 12 right Delta Sierra Delta Kilo Kilo 1 Delta 2145. Taxi to and hold short runway 35 via taxiway Delta cross runway 12 right Delta Sierra Delta Kilo Kilo 1 United 1107. Taxi to and hold short runway 35 via taxiway Sierra cross runway for Sierra Kilo Kilo 1 Delta 723. Delta 2521 hold position caution other traffic. Taxiing hold short runway 35 via taxiway Lima 6 Lima Lima tree cross runway 35 Kilo 3 Kilo Kilo 1 Delta 2775. Hold position Delta 2521. Minneapolis ground Delta 1960 requesting the end of pushback. Delta 1960 request to end pushback received.
Minneapolis ground Delta 739er ready to taxi straight out departure with Oscar.
Delta 739er taxi to and hold short of runway 35 using taxiway Bravo Delta cross runway 12 right Delta Sierra Delta Kilo Kilo 1. Contact tower on 123.905 when ready. Minneapolis ground Delta 1960 with Oscar ready to taxi IFR. Delta 1960 taxi 2 and hold short of runway 35 using taxiway Bravo Delta cross runway 12 right Delta Sierra Delta Kilo Kilo 1. Contact tower on 123.905.
I think the tower was trying to help me with this gusty winds by assigning me to 3.5, but I'm gonna stick to runway 30 left. That's what SimBrief had. And I really, besides VATSIM, I know they're working on more ATC improvements, and I saw a preview for Beyond ATC on YouTube. That looks pretty good too, because it'll recognize my voice, it'll communicate back with me in voices that are also regionalized with accents and whatnot. So that should be a pretty nice feature to have, and also just to make ATC more realistic, not just for myself but also for the AI traffic that's around me. I want to find more time to participate in VATSIM, but it's tough again when you have real day job, kids, dogs, everything. It can keep you pretty busy, so it's hard to focus on those things. So we're all set for takeoff here in Minneapolis, and we're gonna get started. So here we go. So we got stable engines. Check.
E1. Rotate.
Ooh, there is a gusty wind that we're talking about. Okay, yeah, it was up to 35 knots a few seconds ago. Gear up. Flaps 1. Flaps up. After takeoff, engine bleeds on, packs auto, landing gear up and off. Flaps up, no lights. After takeoff, checklist complete. Command A. And I mentioned this in previous videos. I'm using AccuSeason Advanced, developed by Rec Simulations. So that's why we have some very nice late October fall colors here in the upper Midwest in the US. So that definitely gives you more realism. I also like to plug the developers that I'm using. So I mentioned Flightbeam for MSP that we just departed, and I'm going to see Winnipeg for the first time. Winnipeg was released also last week by FSSIM, that's doing so many Canadian airports. I have my WestJet 737, so I want to use it more and more for Canadian routes in upcoming flights, and also from Canada to the US and Caribbean, southern US and Caribbean, when the snowbird season begins. I grew up in South Florida, or part of my youth in South Florida, so it was very common to see a lot of friendly Canadians in South Florida between December and February. Okay, passing 10,000, lights off. So I mentioned it's going to be a very quick flight. We are expecting about an hour and 3 minutes of flight time. So we are already under that. So we should be in the ground in about 55 minutes. I'll pause here and resume the video once we are into our descent. See you then. Okay, so we're back and descending, passing flight level 240 as we continue on our way to Winnipeg. We've been airborne for about 45 minutes, and as predicted, should be an hour or so flight, give or take a few minutes. Since I am new to Winnipeg, I don't think I've ever been to Winnipeg on the simulator or in real life. Just want to get some data and familiarization before we touch down. Latest weather in Winnipeg. Winds are from the west at 12. Altimeter 3040, so that's a high altimeter setting. Gonna go ahead and set that. And pull up Winnipeg here on the charts. I mostly want to be familiar with our arrival. So we're using ILS for runway 31. So we'll definitely have a crosswind on arrival. So that's frequency 110.3, heading 315. Gonna make a track adjustment here to see if I can get a better view of the panel. Okay, there we go. 110.3. So runway 31 is 8,841 feet. Our goal should be to get off the runway sooner rather than later because of the terminal's location. So to get out a taxiway kilo, let me see if I can, the performance calculation. So we're gonna do landing. Import our OFP data. We need runway 31. Our aircraft weight data. We have operational reverse, auto brake 3, normal conditions, VREF +5, so we may put 3 here on the auto brake. Get the weather again, 3040 is still the altimeter, temperature is below freezing. There is a bit of a cloud deck. Well, I don't think there's going to be any icing concerns here. The clouds are pretty scattered. We're going to go ahead and calculate this. It's requiring 5,300 feet of runway distance, so we should be able to get out in the taxiway that I mentioned. And let's see what happened to our landing. Okay, there's our landing data. It disappeared for a few seconds. VREF will be 149. So if we compare it here on the performance, yep, 144 plus 5 equals 149. So we have 30 degrees of flap and 149 knots. I'm gonna get rid of the reserve. I wanna get rid of the reserve warning. Okay, so 53 nautical miles, passing 140. Can activate our current altimeter. Let's see what other details we need to consider here. Should be good. Just playing with the first officer's map a little bit. Still trying to get a feel for what maps I like the most. Okay, so we have a speed warning for, oh, we had this one at the beginning. So November Oscar Romeo Alpha Kilo is passing 11,000 feet. And that's under LNAV, so once we pass 11,000, this warning will go away. So we have our landing altitude already set. Recall is checked. Auto brake is set. We entered our landing data and we went over the approach. And we have altimeters for Winnipeg, and I'll check one more time with the tower. So right now descent checklist is complete, and we'll do one more check for the approach checklist as we get closer to Winnipeg. It's been pretty much a straight line between Minneapolis and here. We took off on runway 30 left, landing runway 31. So less turns to worry about. So this is my third flight with the Universal Flight tablet, and yeah, definitely enjoying it. What was really missing for me was being able to get that performance data. is definitely very helpful, and I'm looking forward to all the future features PMDG's team is going to add to them, to the tablet. I have the option of using the HGS, but I think the weather's pretty nice. I want to stick to a visual landing as much as possible. I'll save the HGS for those days where there is zero visibility. Okay, below 10,000, we're gonna decelerate to 240, and we are 36 nautical miles from the airport. I want to level off at 3,000 sooner than later, so I'm going to go ahead and apply some flight speed brakes. And the recommended speeds here, once we passed this waypoint, so I'll get it down to 230, 230. Okay, so that should be enough, and we'll get our speed brake off again. Stow it, in other words.
Winnipeg Tower Boeing is tree 1 miles east 8,300 feet with India to land.
Boeing Winnipeg Tower. Altimeter 30 decimal for 2 wind 258 at 12. Make straight in runway 31.
So now it's altimeter 3042, so approach checklist is complete.
Fly straight in runway tree 1 Boeing.
My call sign should be Delta 739. I don't know why it's just Boeing. I'm gonna have to check my aircraft configuration file. I could have sworn I entered Delta. And again, this part of the Canadian plains is blanketed in snow because the ground temperature is below freezing. So I'm hoping in the future Asobo can display below freezing conditions without snow when snow has not fallen. That was, yeah, it seemed easier to do that in P3D and FSX. And I said this before, but I mean, once we get into the December, February time frame, it's going to be lots of snow on the ground. There'll be more snowstorms. But right now it's only fall. So for the ground to be so blanketed is uncommon. And you don't get to appreciate the fall colors as much with so much snow on the ground.
2500.
Flaps 1. MCP set to go around altitude for 3,000 feet. Flaps 5. I've double checked the frequency, but I don't see the localizer, even less the glide slope, coming alive, so I'm gonna hand fly the aircraft once I intercept here on the VSI. And I actually don't mind that, we got visibility, and I like to do as much hand flying as possible. So once we intercept, we'll disengage the autopilot. Okay, I guess now the glide slope's alive, but like I said, I want to do it by hand. Flaps 10, gear down. I have control. Flaps 15. And runway in sight. Landing checklist. Engine start to discontinuous, speed brake armed, landing gear down, waiting for flaps 30.
Cleared to land runway tree 1 Boeing.
Flaps 25. Flaps 30. Landing checklist complete. Stable, continuing. Even the buildings are whited out here in Winnipeg. Again, it's a little bit unrealistic for this time of year. Actually, you should be wearing sunglasses with all this whiteout we have. Got a bit of a crosswind. Landing.
$100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Speed brake up. Reverse green. Manual braking. And there is the exit way that I wanted, so we are fully matched up with the performance prediction. And it'll be a shorter taxi to the terminal. Okay to clean up.
Rolling contact ground on 121.9er.
121.9er for Boeing.
Well, as usual, Ksmp Studio has done another great job depicting a Canadian airport. Really like Winnipeg. And like I said, I own pretty much every single Canadian airport that handles either WestJet or US-based 737s. And I know we have Flair and well, the soon-to-be phased-out Cywg flying in Canada. So it's nice to have so many 737 NG airports available in Canada. So I'm thinking I'm gonna park there towards the end, between the Air Canada 737 MAX and the Air Canada A321. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what it, I know there's pre-clearance here, but I'm not sure exactly what gates Delta would use here. And I'm assuming Delta, again, I mentioned this earlier, Delta probably flies a much smaller airplane. If not Airbus 220 series, they'll probably do Airbus 319, maybe even a CRJ900 to fly from Minnesota to Winnipeg. But I want to make the most of my NG flying, so that's why I chose the 900ER. Okay, brakes set. And we'll shut down here. Belts off. We'll keep the APU fuel pump on in the meantime. I'm also going to simulate a very quick turn to Minnesota, back to Minneapolis. So I'm not gonna go over all the checklists here to finish the flight. I'm only gonna do a shutdown checklist, and we'll turn the anti-collision off, and get our gate connected.
Winnipeg ground
And
Boeing,
get our
could you
blocks
please connect
connected.
the jetway to the aircraft?
Boeing, the jetway is going to be connected.
Now we can disengage our parking brake. We'll reset this for the new crew. Well, actually, it's probably gonna be my crew. Again, it's a short turnaround. So, shutdown checklist, fuel pumps off, probe heat off, hydraulic panel is set, flaps are up, parking brake is off with the chocks connected, levers are cut off, and weather radar is off, so shutdown complete. Welcome to Winnipeg. I'll do a quick outside view. And as always, thank you for watching, thank you for feedback and suggestions, and we'll see you very soon.